Try us. You killed my father. Big mistake.
What is going on, everybody? I am Rob Wilson, a comic book artist, illustrator, and welcome to Strictly Art Live number 69. It is Tuesday, April 15th, Tax Day. That's right, Tax taxes are due. You better go ahead and have them ready or file for an extension. But one way or another, you will be taxed here in America. So, 2025, we on live. We're live streaming from YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, and Rumble. You can feel that rumbling going. And today, we got some subjects to really dive into. I don't want to waste too much time. I do want to go ahead and give you guys an update that now I am on TikTok. I think I can only schedule so many clips to be uploaded to X. So I keep running those in error, and then I have to turn around and re-upload them myself manually later on. Meanwhile, other platforms doesn't have that problem. X, I get it. You just want me to pay for subscription, which I won't do. So now I'm on TikTok, trying to make that grow. I think I had like the privacy settings on by accident, but nonetheless, regardless, that is up, and I'm adding my clips to that. I'll add some, previous artwork to that as well, and we'll get that party rolling. So, without further ado, today we're covering mainly Eric July's harsh reality about AI and artists. We're going to be as concise as possible. It's a 13-minute video, so I'll make sure that my responses are as quick and quirky as possible. And that way we chop through it, and then I'm going to try to estimate that'll take about 20 minutes, and we'll go ahead and get into Devil May Cry episode 1 and the Bondsman episode 3, and any gripes and complaints that I hope to turn those lemons into lemonades by the end of the show. Does that work for you? Because I got to make it work. That's what I do here. Inspire even when I'm tired. And I'll bring to you guys the best that I have for the time that I do have. I am thankful to spend this time with you, whether you are actively on live stream or passively watching it afterwards. Either way, I thank you. I greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this segment that we have here of the man himself. If you don't know, Eric July is a political commentator, libertarian, YouTuber. He's been doing it for like a long time. I followed his stuff a while ago, long before he got into comics. Now he has a comic book publishing company, and he's been cranking out books left and right faster than I can blink, only in 2 years' time. So he's amassed some success. But success does not come without gripes and complaints and criticism. So that's where we're at. But I want to try to be as impartial as possible with this, because this will parallel my personal experience with AI and how I felt about it when it initially was announced compared to my take on it now, which I'll share alongside of this video. All right, so let's get the commentating. Let's get accommodating. Hopefully everyone's doing great out there on this fine Tuesday. Monday's the start of the work week again, and Tuesday means you're one day closer to the weekend, which we all look forward to.
People are starting to realize just how quickly AI is developing, and it's already impacting several industries in a big way. But when it comes to art and entertainment, things have gotten especially heated. So in this video, I want to offer a level-headed response to the rise of AI and its growing presence in the creative world. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Eric July. I'm the founder and owner of Riververse Publishing, a comic book company that's seen a lot of success in just a couple of years. And naturally, this is something that affects our industry directly. I'll be sharing my position, but I'm also going to deliver some harsh realities for people on all sides of the AI conversation. Let's get into it. Now, I do want to be clear about what I'm specifically referring to. I'm not talking about the general use of AI, which has been around for a while and is already baked into a lot of the tools that we use every day. For a lot of folks right now, AI just feels like nothing more than a faster, smarter search engine, and in many ways that's true. But in this conversation, we're specifically
So I already use ChatGPT. If you didn't know it, for some of my live stream descriptions, and I'll ask them questions about business and how to grow most efficient ways to get my stuff out there because, um, in my case, I look at it as I shouldn't be dependent on other people to help me to be successful. Success, is based upon what effort, hard work, and exposure you put out there. So if I can use any marketing tools that I can that prove to be effective, I'll use them. Pretty much for the most part, as long as it's not breaking international laws and violations, espionage acts, or anything like that. That's no go for me. But hey, if it's a product that's available in America and I can pay for it, once again, I mentioned on some previous live streams, I used to buy a crap ton of books. Some of them I still haven't gotten to. Some of them I don't even have. But I learned to turn that money around that I would normally spend on those books into investing into my business, which is my comic book publishing company business. So, learning from my mistakes.
Talking about generative AI, and that's a whole different thing. Generative AI refers to systems that can create original outputs, images, text, music, based on patterns and data it's been trained on. So when we talk about AI generated art, we're talking about programs that scan millions of existing images and then spits out something new by mimicking those styles, forms, or structures. That's fundamentally different from an artist using a digital tool like Procreate or Photoshop or tracing. Those are just modern brushes, and those are tools that still require an artist's hands, their vision, their skill set to really bring that to life from scratch.
And I will definitely say I'm an avid user of Procreate. It is my sketch staple. It is my drafting, my digital draft table, and then my publishing, finishing product studio is Clip Studio Paint. Those are the two main ones I use that I stick by. I have some backups because I'm never going back to Photoshop. Their prices are robbery, and I'm not into extra steps just to make that happen. Procreate and Clip Studio Paint have worked great for me for damn, like since they've been out. Was it like 15 years or something crazy like that? And I stick by them. I produce great work. I'm happy with it. Works for me. No need for me to get the next big shiny toy. That's how I look at it.
So the key difference here is authorship. With Procreate, the artist is the creator. With generative AI, the artist becomes more like a prompt writer or curator that's directing a machine to produce something based on learned inputs.
Now, previously, Clip Studio Paint did have a bit of a battle in the past about having like an AI connected feature to it, and Artists United to make sure that was out of Clip Studio Paint entirely. It was off the books. So, you had to give your permission in order for it to color your artwork and all that stuff. I used it a couple of times, came out terrible. So it wasn't even worth it, in my opinion. But that battle was won by the artists on the Clip Studio Paint front. Procreate doesn't use that AI, generative AI at all that I know of.
That shift is what's making so many people uncomfortable and why the conversation around AI and art has become so heated. Now, I know there's an ongoing ethical conversation surrounding this, and it's not without merit. It's no secret that generative AI is trained by scanning and learning from the work of other artists, often without their consent or knowledge, and that alone raises serious concerns, especially when it comes to intellectual property, copyrights, and long-term enforceability of trademark protections. But while that's an important conversation to have, it's also a massive one. So for the purposes of this video, I'm setting that aside, and we'll tackle those issues in a separate discussion. Right now, I want to focus on a different set of concerns and realities that everyone, especially artists, need to hear. When generative AI started to gain traction, a lot of people misread the situation. Some assumed it would never pose a real threat to talented artists. That was a major miscalculation, mainly because they underestimated both how good it would become and how quickly it would get there.
Now, I was one of those people that knew that it would be quite a bit of a threat. Obviously, if you've already been established, you know, you work for big industries and stuff, and you're in like your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, you could be like, hey, I've earned my keep. I fought the good fight. Now it is time for me to rest out to pasture because the world is going to it. Um, but in my case, you know, hey, I never worked for any big major companies in regards to art. So, you know, I just didn't like it entirely. That perception has changed over time. I will admit to that.
This is why I believe graphic designers in particular are facing the most immediate disruption. On the flip side, especially among illustrators, many people severely overestimated how much the broader market actually values artists. And that's a big reason why we're seeing such emotional backlash around AI. This might be the harshest reality of all. If you followed me, you've heard me say this a million times. Artists need to understand business. That starts with accepting this fact. Unless
Adapt or die. That is what they say. Um, yeah, if you spend too much time just pushing back or creating disqualifiers for something that's continuously growing and you can't stop it, I mean, yeah, your voice will become smaller and smaller after a while because while you're complaining, um, things will be going on, things will be getting done. Now, I will say that on some fronts, that because I have traditional art experience and because I've started there and then I went on to digital to learn things, observing AI art or AI, generative AI, now I look at it as a study mechanic from my own personal learning experience. Okay, I can see more images of different figures, and obviously you'll see, you know, the general ones that they use because they're common from what it snatches off of Google. But my same idea of burning figures, poses, things that I would constantly need to draw into my retina and into my brain, so that way it's autopilot for me to create. It's basically the same thing I would do with how I look at AI. Obviously, I can see more flaws with AI stuff, but it's a learning experience. That's all I treat it as. You know, it's not the end all be all.
you're a teacher, 99% of your audience is not other artists. Regular customers don't view your work through the same lens that you do. As an artist operating commercially, you're a service provider, a means to an end when it comes to delivering entertainment or storytelling. Now, many are coming to terms with the fact that a lot of customers simply don't care how the art is made. They're only focused on the final product. That may sound sad, but it's the truth.
Working with some military units on graphic design projects or art projects in particular, yeah, they're just like, hey, get it done. We want these parameters, and that's it. And if I miss something like maybe a patch on a uniform or the design of the uniform or maybe the color, the hue, they're going to question it because, you know, obviously they are the clients. So I've dealt with that before. There's always going to be, hey, can you do it? Can you get it done? Here's a deadline. Yes, no. Okay. That's where let's move on, or, you know, cut ties from there. And within the art community, I think that should definitely be emphasized a lot more: proficiency, efficiency, consistency, and timeliness. So that's all I got to say about that so far.
And it's forcing some people to realize that they're far more disposable in the marketplace than they previously believed.
So you're going to see this happen a lot more. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to have any jobs pretty soon. You know, you have the 9 leaving Minas Morgul, like, oh, fuck, man. This is insane. And so you've got Rivendell here. Yeah, so if you are an artist, this has been a really bad week for you. And I want to promise you that it's going to get worse.
A lot of AI art coming out. It is literally better than most artists' best work. I don't consume the method, I consume the product. If this gives me a better product, I gotta give it the credit it's due. It's a good product. I don't give a fuck about the method. I don't give a shit.
And it's only going to get worse as AI becomes more widely embraced. One of the clearest signs that most people see you as nothing more than a service provider is how they talk about AI democratizing art. They don't care about your skill set, your years of training, or the craft. To them, AI is just giving them access to something that they used to have to rely on you for, and yelling at them to pick up a pencil and learn to draw isn't going to work. They don't feel shame about it. They don't have to. Now, let's be honest. Most people, even fellow artists, didn't care about AI when it was used for memes or YouTube thumbnails. But the commercial application is happening faster than many anticipated. And this isn't just affecting high-level professionals. This is going to hit artists at every level. Freelancers, studio veterans, everybody. Before I continue though, let me offer another hard
And I made it a point to go ahead and take my own advice. Don't give up your day job.
truth for my fellow artists. The world has been trying to bypass you for decades. They tolerated your egos and respected your talent because they had to, because you could produce. Now that there's a tool that might let them bypass you entirely, they'll do it without thinking twice. And many of you didn't help yourselves by walking around like you were God's gift to the world.
Across the board, artists of pretty much any kind can be a bit difficult to deal with. The perception is it is on a different level. Having certain abilities and people loving what you do with those abilities, yeah, that can boost your ego. That can be like 1,000 guys talking to one chick, and her ego is off the chain because she knows 1,000 guys or more are going to constantly engage her, and she probably won't want most of them anyway. So it's kind of like the same similar concept. People keep saying, "Oh, your work's great. You've done a great job." Look at musicians. Musicians have gone through that, especially with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. All kinds of that back in the 70s, 80s, and all that. If you're popular because of something, you were celebrated for that. And putting that into a system, an algorithm that really demystifies the artist, the human artist. But, the human artist still has some things that the AI does not have. To quote one Batman episode, um, the AI art does not have a soul, and hopefully it won't have a soul of silicon, if you go back to the Hardak episode of Batman the animated series.
Their attitude is partially why they're eager to move on from you. Now, there's this quote going around that AI will create new jobs, especially for people who know how to prompt well, or that the future belongs to artists who embrace AI to enhance their traditional skills. And while that sounds nice on paper, it falls apart when you look at how this tech is evolving. Part of AI getting better means that it becomes less dependent on precise prompting. The whole point is to remove as much human input as possible from the equation.
And this is one of the things that I took it a point to learn a little bit about AI, generative AI, is that now a lot of these apps or whatnot, they're allowing you to go through like this test run. It's almost like an ink blot test. You go through like 100 to 200 images, and you're given options for each. You're given a set to pick from, one from each set of 100 to 200 images, and then based on the images that you select, the algorithm or the AI starts to cater designs and your requests and your prompts towards those decisions that you made. So it's becoming more familiar with your choices. Interesting stuff, but I guess that's how it learns.
Think the end game is typing 20 lines of detailed instruction? No, it's a casual user typing in a single sentence and getting exactly what they want. So while there may be short-term opportunity for people riding the wave of AI that also have a shred of artistic skill, the idea that prompting itself becomes a specialized long...
Now that's something I guess I kind of disagree with, because a person that is not an artist, this is me as an artist working with people, I tell them all the time, as clients, it's my job to pull your best ideas out of your brain and bring them into this world. That's how I look at it. And a lot of times, you give people options and things to choose from. The more options you give, the more indecisive they become, because they have too many options. The same thing with buying a car. Do a credit check at one place, and you find out, hey, your credit's better than another. You go shop around. You go to another dealership. Now, the dealer that ran the credit check is like, well, crap. Maybe I shouldn't have gave him that option. So yeah, that's one thing I do disagree with Eric July about, because a person that is not an artist but they know what they like, um, they could be a follower of the craft and be art savvy, knowledgeable about it. Swept in the Renaissance and all the history appreciation. But good morning, Levi. How's it going, man? Levi Ski. Follow him on Three Stroke Studios and Rumble, and he is also part of the Madness Entertainment Group, just like me. Fun times. So yeah, a person that just normally types in a prompt and says, "Hey, I want this," yeah, they'll get what they want based on the description, but they don't their perception doesn't take it to a deeper level that an artist would. Like, okay, I want this, but I want to make it my own. I've even tried to deal with like some AI art, and I've noticed that, hey, this looks this general concept looks good, but I still want to make it my own, and I know now how I want to go about it based off of what this is. It's almost like the illusion of choice. You give someone, you ask a person asks on the menu, "Hey, I don't know what I want," and you're the waiter. So you say, "Hey, well, this is good on the menu," and then the person says, I'll get the opposite of that." So it's an illusion of choice, but it's the point of making them have them make a choice. Interesting stuff.
Long-term career is laughable. It's just another way that folks on the other side are trying to console themselves in the face of this massive disruption. But let's circle back to this idea of democratized art. The truth is, as AI improves, people with rough ideas but no capital are going to default to using it, and they already are. You've probably seen folks openly admit to using AI because they lack money, time, or skill, and even other artists might lean into it for like an indie project. Think about a line artist who wants to make a comic. They might skip hiring a colorist altogether and just let the AI do it. And as this becomes more commercially viable, people from all economic classes are going to be selling these AI sort of generated art pieces. Sure, you can argue that people with more capital might prefer traditional artists, but even that's not a guarantee. Who's to say that they don't want to streamline their budgets too? Everyone is looking to cut costs. And if AI offers a cheap, fast option, don't be surprised when even the big spenders take it. But I gotta be fair here. A lot of people want to frame AI as this great equalizer, as again, it's democratizing art and entertainment. But if we're being completely honest, the biggest beneficiaries of this shift are going to be these mega corporations that already dominate the market. Why? Because they have the infrastructure, capital, and scale to implement these tools in the most efficient and profitable way. They can generate content at a fraction of the cost.
And they've got the data centers. Just saying.
Sidestep dealing with creative teams entirely and flood the market with algorithm approved material. Meanwhile, small creators are still fighting for visibility. And as AI content becomes more prevalent, the signal to noise ratio worsens, making it even harder for truly original voices to stand out. So while it may feel like AI gives everyone access to the same tools, it's the giants who can exploit those tools at scale who are positioned to win the most. They also own these notable IPs. Another hard truth is that many artists are now discovering just how little most people actually care about the creative process, as I alluded to earlier. And part of the blame falls on the artists themselves. For years, inflated egos made some creators feel untouchable, dismissing their audiences, talking down to them, or acting though as their skill alone entitled them to unwavering support.
Now, this is an interesting concept, because I've had conversations with both American comic book collectors and readers, and I've had conversations with people that read mangas. So the interesting thing I have noticed is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe my side of the world, East Coast, is just one type, but I've had this conversation abroad too, even overseas. Um, People that watch anime, they don't really badmouth American comics. They just they like what they enjoy. That's it. I've tried to mention it to them a couple of times, and they'll say, "Yeah, all right, that's cool." But they don't say, "Oh, I'll never read that because it has XYZ and so and so and so." No, but I will say that I have heard in the American comic book space community, podcasters, people giving their opinions. They have made it a personal campaign to say, "Hey, uh, manga is kicking America's butt as far as popularity. Even America's reading more manga than they are American comics." And personally, I don't like it because of the hook noses and everybody looks pretty. They come up with a lot of these accusations for the way something's drawn, style. And while, like I said, those accusations may ring loud for a while, but as more people find popularity with the manga over American comics, that voice, that shout becomes a lot smaller because people are going more for what they like and not really being swayed. How can you convince somebody to not like something that they like? I mean, obviously, you got to use some kind of deception. But when it comes to entertainment, a person's going to like what they like, and that's about it. Not saying it's impossible to convince them, but the product, if the product is good and on time and available and plentiful, yeah, it's really hard to hate on it. you know Gotta give credit where credit is due. So I kind of look at that as to how, kind of like an analogy to where how with AI, um artists, we've had a hell of a ride. It's been a fun ride. I just know, like in the past, my clientele was a lot bigger, but once AI swooped in, I, those calls, I don't get those calls no more, and that's fine. That's why I work my day job, and if people don't want artwork from me, I'll focus on artwork that I love. I want to draw, that I like. I focus on my projects, my comic books. So I'm thankful for that as well.
The lack of humility and personal connection has caught up. In a world where people are increasingly detached from how art is made, the process only matters if the person behind it does. If you spent more time becoming personable, sharing your journey, showing appreciation for your audience, or inviting them into your world, maybe more people would actually care that it's you behind the brush instead of an algorithm. Art is still sort of emotional. It always has been, and social media could be the worst thing that happened to most artists because they lost their mystique. And
That is a very excellent point. And it's ironic that, in this clip, Eric July is showing, Rachel Ziegler, who clearly has contributed to the bombing of her own movie. Again, like he said, like the mystique of the artist. Remember back in the 80s and the 90s, you saw the actor when he was on like the red carpet and you saw him on the big screen. And that was it. Maybe you saw him at a basketball game, you know, and he signed, signature or whatever, and then took a picture with you. He was cordial. Now you got celebrities and artists giving their opinions about everything that doesn't need to be mentioned. Not every conversation is for the internet, and I get it. People always want the newest, spike viral moment of doing something, and some of it has become artificial. Some influencers are actually a Hollywood, junior Hollywood. They're plants and facilitating a facade that's not real. So when the internet gives you that FOMA, fear of missing out, it almost forces a person after a while to keep trying to rise with the crowd, get that crowd rise for the dopamine hits, and making money too if that does happen. But it's a monotonous job, constantly being on the internet, in my opinion, and it takes away from that private time where you have time to concentrate, focus, and work on your craft, whether it's music, acting, doing stuff in private. Again, not everything needs to be on the internet. It just doesn't. Um, that's like a mature approach to take at it.
Now, the general public sees their attitudes in a negative light, and going out of your way, making enemies out of your customers and other creators for superficial reasons wasn't smart. So not even the best artists are going to walk away from this untouched. People say otherwise to soften the blow, but nobody's truly safe. The companies most insulated are the ones who already own recognizable IPs, but even they're not completely in the clear. Now, you might be thinking I'm saying all this as like a black pill, but I'm not. I just want artists to be honest with themselves. If this is your craft, you better start working on an adjustment plan right now. Now, for us here at the Rippaverse, we've already made a commitment to not use generative AI for our artwork. We give opportunities to both up-and-coming as well as veteran traditional artists. And while some may eventually try to sneak something through, we've done a solid job of catching it so far. I did a video a while back that rubbed some people the wrong way, but I think a lot more people are starting to understand what I meant by what I said. If you're an artist, just being good isn't going to cut it anymore. Not in this new landscape. You're going to have to offer something else. And what that something else is, that's going to vary. For us, it's the interactivity with our fans and the larger Rippaverse universe. For you, it might be something different, but whatever it is, figure it out now, because the ones who do, they're going to be the ones that are able to at least house these skilled artists and keep this thing going. A lot of artists got spoiled straight up by these mega corporations, even if they pretended to hate them.
You guys got fat while everyone starved on the street. It's my turn. The words of Frank White. That's not my words, it's words of Frank White. And possible ban invader. Oh boy. We got another one of those, huh? I normally get one every live stream on Twitch. So, nothing new. All right, let's continue. Where are you?
They were paid these decent wages, they had job security even if the mega corporations were losing money, and were propped up by these brands that did all the heavy lifting when it came to visibility. The environment created a lot of inflated egos. Some started to act like they were untouchable or like the fans owed them support, but now that things are shifting and that safety net is gone, those same artists must adapt. If this is your lane, you're going to need to humble yourself, become.
So this is ironic because this is what has been mentioned in regards to mainstream news media, because some people have been cut, from CNN or MSNBC and stuff like that, and obviously social media is like the more current news, because you can learn about a subject faster than you can wait for breaking news, the official story to happen. Citizen journalist is a real thing. Person on the street observes a car wreck or maybe a shootout. All you have to do is pull out their phone, and boom. Obviously, hopefully they stay safe, things like that. But that's happened to the point where podcasters have long form content. It's more available to be expansive on things, but the people that have been cut from mainstream media, much like the artists, as Eric is explaining, they're going to have to adjust their game plan now. Some have transitioned somewhat well or found an influencer to latch on to switch from mainstream media newscaster to political commentary on a podcast. So this is something that, like he mentions, you got to learn about business to a degree. and learn how to diversify, just like an investment, not gambling, but investments. You have to diversify your investments, also your artwork and your audience and the tools that you use in order to get there. So I think that's important.
More personable, and stop being combative toward the very people you're trying to serve, and they aren't your peers. If you don't want to market, if you don't want to connect with your audience, then you'd better be partnering with someone who will, because that old model is collapsing and fast. So all in all, yes, your jobs are going to be impacted, from graphic designers to comic book illustrators. This shift is real, and you can either get angry at the tide or start figuring out how to swim in it. The truth is, there's still room for talent, but talent alone won't be enough. You'll need to adapt, you'll need to get strategic, and bring more to the table than just your.
And think about this for a minute too. Right now, comic book conventions, comic cons, and anime conventions have made it a point to be protective of the actual artists that create actual work. So, for the most part, they have banned AI from those conventions. But what happens? Just think about it. You got a bit of a futurist. Try to plan ahead. What happens when those AI artists, or whatever you want to call them, gather together under a tent and start having just all AI art? Nobody's stopping them. It's interesting, um, and knowing that there will be an abundance of stuff. If they could sell it, unless it's totally illegal in that state. So that's where it starts turning into a state by state case. I get it where it comes to the copyrights. So it's a tricky and slippery slope. Levi Skinny said, talent, speed, and likability. It used to be you needed 2 out of the 3 to work in the industry. Right. Yeah, that is true. And that's the thing. With the speed part, again, you were held to a standard. You had to be responsible with your time, because, hey, if you didn't do it, on time and stuff like that, you stopped getting work, right? Or you got fired. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a pressure cooker working as an artist in the industry, from what I can understand. Hell, Disney, they put their artists in a bunker when they're working on stuff. They don't. I guess maybe they see sunlight once a month or something. I don't know. But I used to hear stories on the commentaries about that, so it's pretty interesting.
Ability to draw. The people who are going to thrive in this new era are the ones who treat their craft like a business, understand their audience, and remain flexible without compromising their integrity. Don't waste time pretending this isn't happening. Face it head on and evolve.
So you see, that
It's
was
no secret that the American comic book industry has seen better.
So that was I think that was a pretty good piece. I think we did go over it a little bit. But that's okay, because we're switching to the art of things. And I'm gonna try to make the rest of this as short as possible, but I definitely wanted to respond and kind of like go over Eric July's perspective when it came to that video. I know some people are irate. He ticks some people off. People are raging out. It's like, oh, how dare he? I get it. But these days, after seeing so many things involved in the comic book indie space and stuff, I'm not as reactionary as I once was, because I try to wait to get the whole story. Let's get some music here going on. Yeah, so Devil May Cry. Next segment. Devil May Cry on Netflix. Does it live up to the hype? I mean, lots of great flashy scenes and all that. Dante can't come up with a one-liner in front of a hot chick. That was the first part to kind of tick people off, and it was like, no, what are you doing? Dante always has something cool to say, which you can always have available if the director does it right. Well, let me tell you what Devil May Cry is. It's very interesting. It's more than just Devil May Cry. Let's see. Levi said, I was at a con and overheard a Dark Horse artist bragging about his 5-week scheduling and how the editors were totally cool with it. Yeah, he probably he either has blackmail on him or he's got a hell of a reputation. And you're gonna have people like that, which was in a way what Eric July was probably talking about. Some artists are just, I can do no wrong. I walk on water. In fact, I draw myself walking on water. That kind of mentality, which can be annoying, especially around the office. You got to hear that stuff. It's like, oh God, that guy again. But yeah, that is pretty interesting. But Devil May Cry, I will say this. Episode 1 gives you everything that you technically expect out of Devil May Cry. It gave you gunfights, Dante's trickster, his teleports, a lot of gunplay, some fisticuffs, and even a Ryu Shoryuken cameo because that was in Dante's moveset. But that is where the best of Dante was also, there as well. And ironically, the majority of that episode was not Dante. We got to see it go quite political, and there are a lot of views being mentioned. The introduction of demons onto the battlefield, and the fusion of Albert Wesker and Mike Pence as the vice president. What are y'all doing, man? That was like just over the top, overt, like hilarious. And I don't know who the president was being, who they were portraying. I got an idea, but that vice president was like a little too hardcore to be a vice president. Like, and he was like super religious too. God's word is absolute. It was hilarious. And as we cover each episode of Devil May Cry, you're gonna learn that, as I said, this is more than just Devil May Cry. This is basically like the Capcom All-Star thing. You got Mega Man bobblehead cameos in it. You got a special team, that lady who is the most hated character out of the whole series, hands down. She definitely drugged that show down painfully. No question about it. It was something that we did not want to see. We wanted to see Dante. But they got us good. Great intro. Like, who does not love Limp Bizkit for the intro of Devil May Cry? Keep rolling through the episodes. Keep rolling through the episodes. It was like almost subliminal messaging. Great intro. But subliminal as hell. I loved it. And normally I don't binge watch stuff, but it trapped me. Because I was like, I would be disappointed by the first course of events. And next thing you know, keep rolling. And they got me. They got me good. That was excellent product placement. I fell for it. It's been a while. My Jedi training, resistance towards those Sith mind tricks are normally pretty strong, but they got me good. Pretty good soundtrack, choice of music, better than James Gunn's. I gotta throw them jabs. And also, the special elite team under Mike Pence Wesker, who was calling all the shots, and forging recruits for God's army. He literally had a team that was dressed up like the Captain Commando. And I was like, why was Lady having jet boots and all this stuff? And I think that's the second episode, so we'll get that next time. But the first episode, you pretty much got it was a lot going on. You got plenty of Dante. And you got plenty of action. You got to see him go to work. You got to see him fight demons. In fact, the second scene even did a homage to Spider-Man 2, where Doc Ock threw a giant vehicle into a cafe, and Dante was fast enough to save everybody, even though the place blew up. And there was a Virgil cameo. Again, me personally, this was watchable. Castlevania was not. I'm already seeing that people are comparing this to Castlevania, and rightfully so. I can see the reason. I tapped out of Castlevania on season 1. I don't even know what their last season was. I was like, yeah, nah, I'm out. I'm out. No. So, but with this, it's a little more watchable. Where it will go, season 2, because they already announced it. We'll find out, and that'll kind of like determine how things will pan out. But if it continues down the road that it is headed towards, Dante is about to get the Henry Cavill treatment from The Witcher. And he's a fictional character, so it's really tough. It starts off great and stuff, but there's like a thorn in the side of that. And this thing has so many references and stuff. Again, it's more Capcom All-Star than Devil May Cry. And they probably could have saved face if they called this Capcom All-Stars. And then increase the number of additional characters in there. Bring Star Gladiator, Hayato up in there or something. Since they can't make a Marvel's Capcom game, good, and start bringing in some cameos that way. Build some hype. So Devil May Cry, for me, I enjoyed it, but it definitely had the issues. With them throwing in the whole politics thing, which that's never been a thing in Devil May Cry, to my knowledge. The White Rabbit, great villain, great choice of villain, excellent introduction, very sophisticated and Shakespearean, so to speak. That's the vibe I got from him. It's pretty cool. Normally every Devil May Cry deals with some world-ending event, so that was on par as well. Overall, episode 1 had me at like a 7.5. Sometimes when something sucks and I watch it, I'll latch on to something else that I find funny. Like Iron Fist, main character was garbage, but his dad, the Rand guy, he was nuts and hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So that kind of thing. I'll try to make it work. But yeah, we got a super country president on there. He was like, man, the last guy only had to deal with Saddam Hussein. You telling me there's demons out there? And Mike Pence is out to, dominate with the moniker of, God's right hand, as he's looking to smite all demons. It's an interesting show. Like I said, I would recommend it, especially if you've never seen anything Devil May Cry. Just expect to know that it's definitely not. I'd say it's about 6 out of 10 close to the source material. The rest is like just movie hype, and that's okay. That's all right. It'll be all right for sure. All right, so the Bondsman. We got to move on to the Bondsman, wrap up the show, and we're going to do another show on Saturday, which will be WrestleMania Saturday. So we're going to cover the matches, who's wrestling who for the pay-per-view in the first night. All right, so Bondsman, episode 3, season 1. We have, it's already established one case where Kevin Bacon's mom already took out one demon, and photos have been caught showing them, at the scene and stuff. One goofball of the mob guy, he emphasizes that maybe she's a witch, and so and the guy flips out. He loses patience, so we get to see him unleashed a little bit, and now we see that he's a much deeper character, because since Kevin Bacon came back alive, he's been in jaw drop and shock mode the whole time, because he didn't understand how this happened. He ordered the hit. Kevin Bacon was supposed to have been dead. End of story. And takes his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, takes his son. That kind of thing. So it's a hell of a shock to him that he doesn't understand, but he's trying to proceed with caution at the same time. So in addition to that, we have the next case, which basically is like Water Demon. And I feel like I talked about that before. I can't quite remember, but Kevin Bacon, he investigates the water demon. Wherever there's water demons, right? So he finally runs into her, and she's flat out trying to drown him. There's no additional dialogue like he had with the priest. She's just in for the kill and doing it for the thrill. So he was on the verge of passing out underwater while she already caught one victim who he was staring at underwater. He had to come to and, stab her in the eye and get it done. I am pretty amazed that there's no mentioning of, like holy weapons, knife doused in holy water or anything like that. I guess since he's already damned as well, which his mother was trying to figure out why, but at the end of the episode, we do find out why. And he buried somebody that he definitely has regrets for, and deep down he knows why he went to hell, and why he probably will go back for his travesty. So that being said, another great episode. I'm gonna get to watching episode episode 4. There's a bunch of other stuff that's out. Super Cube's available now. I'm gonna start watching that. I've seen the first episode, but I'm gonna go ahead and get back to that. There's My Hero Academia, Vigilantes, that's out as well. I saw the first episode. Wasn't too impressed. They did their usual, hey, it's All Might, because it's a prequel, and you got like people that aren't bad guys. And they aren't quite good guys. They don't have the hero's license, but they're still trying to save lives. So it's an interesting dynamic. I don't know whether I like it yet. I really don't. But we'll see. We shall see. And let me comment on this before I go. Fantastic Four. You figure out of all this is going on with Superman, Fantastic Four would be aiming for a better PR type of thing, right? They're focused on gender politics, gender identity. They're going to make Johnny Storm a punk. The Thing already sounds like a punk. And what's her name? Vanessa Kirby is saying that Sue Storm, up until now, was always a doormat. Tell that to Jessica Alba, who was in the first 2 Fantastic Four movies that Fox made. She was more than a doormat. She demanded Reed Richards talk to her, and she would put that force field up and flatten his face as quick as day. She was the main deciding factor. Let's see. Lopa, Merida. I just stumbled upon this channel. Cool art, though. Cool. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Jessica Alba, Sue Storm Jessica Alba, was the decider. I get it. Not everybody liked Rise of the Silver Surfer. Still had one of the best chase scenes between him and Johnny Storm of all time. That there's no debate there in Marvel movie history. But she was able to convince Norrin Rad to fight against Galactus. According to that story, that does not make her look like a doormat. That makes her look like a very pivotal character in changing the drive of the Silver Surfer isn't really a villain. but he is tasked with great purpose, glorious purpose, and he chose to take another route because um, Sue Storm reminded him of Shambhala, I believe that's her name. Yeah. So Vanessa Kirby, man, like, just get ready for your movie, okay? Take 10. Can you do that? Just take 10. Just relax. Wait for the movie to come out. You already filmed it. Some things you don't have to comment on. Just give it a break. This goes back to what RWA was just talking about. Some artists just got to ramble on and talk and on, talk and talk and talk. That's why I have my limits when it comes to live streaming. I used to be on live stream just looking for stuff to talk about. I don't need to commentate on everything. It's not worth my time because my focus is on the art, which I know now a whole lot more. Some of that stuff just is unnecessary, and in my opinion, they are in a position where I don't even think they're overhyping their movie. They're just boasting about it. You know what I'm saying? Elon said, Lopa Murder, give a like and follow. He's good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely give a like, comment, and subscribe. How you like my AI voice? No, I'm kidding. I'll never get that job. But yeah, that's just one of the things. Now, here's a glimmer of hope, in my opinion. Between Superman, Fantastic Four, and the Thunderbolts. I think the Thunderbolts is going to be the winner amongst these three movies. In my opinion, I'm looking forward to Sentry. Why? Because they've shown him the least. There's plenty of mysteriousness about him, aside from the comic book lore that everybody's just going over now, and they're trying to predict the end of the movie. Sure, they may talk him down out of the abyss, or a real Hulk may show up. One of those two things, but I think it's going to be a pretty decent ride. And having somebody like Sentry is basically Superman versus Superman. Marvel Superman, aka Sentry, stands off against James Gunn's Superman. Me personally, that's what I think is going to be the winner of the box office. Yeah, I mean that's the best I can kind of predict on that one. But yeah, alas, I got a chance to work on some more details with this guy. I got a great technique that I'm gonna use for the background, and it's gonna save me a lot of headache with all these squares and angles. Call it a cheat code, but hey, I utilize the tools within the perimeters of the system. There are many people that do much more worse than I do. I'm not a cheater. I'm just an artist. That's where I started. Ladies and gents, I'm Rob Wilson. Thank you for joining me today for the hour. Hopefully I got a chance to answer any questions if people have them. And if you got them in the comments, I'll respond. I'm not unapproachable. As long as I'm not working. If I'm working, give me 12 hours. Give me a day to respond. But I'll definitely ask questions. If you got questions, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? People ask me questions on the shorts that I make sometimes. Why didn't you give this person credit, or that? Let's say, hey, I did give the person credit, and in the next live stream, I gave the person even more credit and recommended that go check them out. So I'm a down to earth person. I'm not insane. I'm not on drugs. And I'll work with people. A conversation. I like the conversation, and just don't have. Well, you can ask what you like. Some things I'm gonna have an answer for you. Some things I won't, because I'm only human. But that's all I got, ladies and gents. I'm Rob Wilson. Thank you for watching Strictly Art Live, number 69. get ready for Saturday, which is going to be Strictly Art Live number 70, WrestleMania. 2-day event, technically a 3-day event because Friday night is going to be the Hall of Fame ceremony. I look forward to checking that out. And if you're a wrestling fan, let's see who takes the title, John Cena or Cody Rhodes. All right, that's the biggest match I'm looking at. Like I said, I'll go over the roster of who's fighting who, and try to make it exciting. I also cover the next episode of Devil May Cry and the Bondsman. So y'all take care. Enjoy your Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. Take blessing, count your blessings, and God bless. And enjoy your day. Stay safe. Shout out to Levi Skeen for stopping by, and also Lopa Murdoch. Thanks for stopping by, and my usual Twitch guy that's trying to sell me views. And, you know, there's always one. Levi said Rhodes. That's right, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. Cody Rhodes. Finishing the story. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace out. And be sure to check out the Madness Entertainment Group. They got so many shows, I couldn't even count them if I could. But they got a show every day of the week and damn near every hour. So definitely check them out on YouTube and all the other major platforms. Have a good one.